Over the last hour, we joined with public television stations across the country to bring you Raising of America, Early Childhood and the Future of the Nation.
In the richest nation in the world, our children's well-being, measured across multiple dimensions, ranks 26th out of 29 rich nations. Why that is and what we can do about it matters. To this child, to all of our children, and to the future of our society.
This hour, Kansas City responds.
Somebody once said to me that we know what we should do, we simply don't do it. Missouri and Kansas are at the bottom of the list of investments in early childhood education. If you think about it, Missouri spends about $620 million a year on prisons and about $37 million a year on early childhood education. Now, you don't have to be a genius to know that that financial paradigm is bass-ackwards.
KCPT asks some tough questions about raising the youngest children in our own backyard in Raising KC. We're in front of an audience at the Kauffman Foundation, where we brought together a think tank of experts. KCK School Superintendent Dr. Cynthia Lane, the Surgeon General of Kansas City Health Director Dr. Rex Archer, the head of the largest child advocacy organization in Kansas, Shannon Kotsaradis, Children's Mercy ER Doc Denise Dowd, the head of early learning programs for the Mid-America Regional Council, Jim Kakamo, and from the business world, former Blue Cross VP, Peter Yalorda. Along with our audience, they've just been watching the national documentary.
Want to show Daddy a book?
In today's day, we all gotta work. And I can remember back in like my grandfather's days, you know, the man work, the woman stay home and take care of the house and, you know, family and things like that. In today's day, it surely can't happen. Everybody got to go out and work and, you know what I'm saying, bring it in.
Very good. Yeah, you're going to show Daddy
Yeah,
a
he
book?
works a split
Very
shift.
good.
So like 2 in the afternoon to 1, 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
I'm on nights this week. And so the next week, though, I'll be on days.
Americans now work more hours than every other rich nation, yet the middle class is shrinking. Social mobility is less than it was 50 years ago. And most damning, 1 in 4 of our children is born into poverty.
David, you know, tomorrow's a really hectic day. I have a training. I have to be there at 9 o'clock.
Things just barely work out. Like feeling security. I don't really know what that feels like, to feel like, all right, we're good.
That way, no, you silly girl.
I wake up in the morning and I'm on.
It's like, where's my other child?
And then I go to work and I'm on.
You have a good day, you little one.
And then I come home and then I'm on until the kids go to sleep.
It's too much. I can't do it.
Our policies actually actively discourage parents from being able to take care of those kids well in their prenatal months, in their early years, and getting them ready for school.
Among the world's richest nations, the United States is the only country that fails to provide guaranteed paid maternal leave on the birth of a child.
It took 9 years to get unpaid leave. That's disgusting.
40% of all American mothers are working within 3 months of their baby's birth. Some because they want to, most because they have to.
Our child care expenses, now that we have a second child, it's way more than we spend on our mortgage.
Among rich nations, our child care ranks 16th in affordability, 22nd in quality. We rank 31st in availability of child care.
So this is our wait list, and this is the wait list just for infants and toddlers.
If I'm not there, I'm entrusting someone else to keep her safe, to teach her, to help her grow in all areas, developmentally, spiritually, Mama. Because we can't do it alone, you know.
We shouldn't be surprised if so many of our children arrive at kindergarten unready to begin school. And we shouldn't be surprised that so many of our kids can't graduate from high school.
In 1970, the United States was #1 in the world in high school and college graduation rates. Today, we've fallen to 15th in college completion, 21st in high school graduation.
High school graduation rate, we know, is strongly related to things that occur long before high school.
Can you write your name?
My name starts with an A.
There's your A.
So reading in 3rd grade, the reading level is a strong predictor of whether or not you're going to graduate from high school. Well, what predicts reading in 3rd grade?
Mama!
Yes, sweetheart.
The number of words you know when you're between the ages of 2 and 3. Oh, so what predicts the number of words you know when you're 2 or 3 years old?
Are you happy?
So we can keep tracking back.
To see the doctor?
Beginning from the moment of birth, 700 new synapses are being formed every single second in all parts of the brain that basically become the architecture and the foundation of who we are as people.
Fox and Socks, our game is done, sir.
There's never been a societal problem or issue where we have had so much information and done so little with it. Between the neuroscience and the economic literature, and there's just this explosion of information that no one is disputing, but we're still not acting on it.
Okay, you want me to give you a hug? You need a hug right now?
We don't just have an achievement gap in this country, we have a policy gap.
We need to be investing in the early years.
But why, if we know so much, do we do so little, Jim Kakamo?
Listen carefully. We know what to do for our children and our families. There isn't a person in this room that doesn't know what to do. Well, why don't we do it?
Exactly, which is the point of this conversation, Jim. What's holding us back?
Will. Political will, public will, business will are holding us back. You know, I read something today that just astounded me. The war in Iraq and Afghanistan. $6 trillion. Now, we didn't get to vote on whether to spend that. We didn't get to vote on the increase. Nobody asked us whether we wanted to spend our money in a different way. So the answer, I think, is to become very politically active.
Dr. Rex Archer, help us out. I mean, if we know so much, why is it that we're not doing anything about it?
I actually would disagree. I don't think we know that much. If you go to the average citizen in this country, most of what was in this film, they would be shocked at and not understand how far we have slipped back. You know, if we dropped in medal count in the Olympics like this, there'd be a huge cry by the media and a whole bunch of folks to raise this awareness. I think that's our challenge, is that we, you know, to use Tales of America, Robert Reich's book, we've got 3 or 4 myths that we operate under in this country, and those myths are causing this problem. We have this false belief that folks can independently come out of poverty by themselves, whereas you're twice as likely to be able to get out of poverty if you live in Denmark than in this country because of all these structural systems. So we really have a narrative problem where we blame the individual but don't hold ourselves collectively responsible.
Dr. Cynthia Lane, I mean, you are always working with policymakers as the superintendent of the Kansas City, Kansas School District that has to try and get funding to make things work. Is it that people don't understand this information?
I think we're at a place of conflict of values. You know, if we think about it, many of our policymakers came from families that thrived. And so there's a lack of real understanding that not everyone has similar experiences. And so for me, we're at a crossroads of understanding that raising our children is a collective responsibility and it is an economic responsibility. I agree with Dr. Archer. We have a hard time getting our message out. We are a society of sound bites. Just look, this room should be packed, and it is overflowing tonight, but the people that are here, as I look around the room, already understand this issue. So how do we get the attention of others who may not be as informed to help us make good decisions?
Peter Yoloda, you've been in the business community. How do you get that message out? And reality is, though, you know, it's about money, and nobody wants to spend money. Governments are not giving away money. Businesses are not giving away money.
You know, I was in France a couple years ago, and I was having a discussion with a Frenchman about the difference in our society. And at one point in the conversation, he laughed and said, you know, you Americans, you'll do the right thing after you've tried everything else. You know, so do we know the answers? I'm sure we do. But we are a divided country at this point. We are a divided society. We have issues with equality in terms of paying women equally. We have issues with greed. The greed that goes on is just unbelievable. We say we're the richest country in the world. In what context? When we saw the chart, we see that the minimum wage and the average working person they have plateaued, but we see the corporate earnings skyrocketing. We have the ability to fund paid leave for women in the workplace and men.
What is business doing? Is there any examples of anything happening in the business world that is proactively, that you've experienced, proactively doing something to help the employees who have families to improve their lot?
You know, I think there are companies here in Kansas City with CEOs who are aware of this and are trying to do things, but it's here and there. It's not comprehensive. I think of the time we put into refurbishing Union Station. How many years, I mean, I was on that board for I don't know how long, but how many years did we put into bringing Union Station back with the business community and the political community? We should put the same kind of effort into addressing this problem. And that's where the mayor and our other elected officials have a responsibility to call to the table the business community. We have a responsibility to hold everybody accountable until there is a sustainable plan identified and implemented to address this problem. We're talking about an issue here that is going to destroy this country if it's not addressed.
Okay, so what do you want to actually see happen? We can lament what the problem is, the lack of money. Denise Dowd, you're on the front lines at Children's Mercy Hospital. You see all sorts of kids. You see this play out in real time.
We want to see all children thrive, obviously.
And what does that mean?
Thrive, be successful in life, live to their full potential.
Now, businesses, though, want measurements. The Big Five Chamber of Commerce recently announced they wanted kindergarten readiness as one of their new initiatives as part of this. But it was like, how do they measure any of this? How do we know we're being successful?
Well, I think there's the sheer statistics that were presented in this film. There's hundreds of different things that you can measure, whether it's children in poverty, high school graduation rates, readiness for kindergarten is one. I mean, I think some of those measures are siloed, and I think we have to take some of those measures, and I'll take healthcare for one instance, where we in healthcare measure our pediatric patients according to their immunization rates and so forth. I would put forth one thought that would say that kindergarten readiness to learn, is a fundamental health outcome. And so I think we have to think differently, and we have to cross over each other's fields in terms of measurement of outcomes, which is a much more efficient way of doing things anyway.
Well, when it comes to the amount of state funding earmarked for early learning, Kansas ranks 38th, Missouri 39th in the nation. But there are some pockets of our community that are saying, well, we can't wait for the federal government or states to bail us out because they don't have any money, and we know Kansas doesn't have any money. So we're not going to wait for any of that. We're going to act on our own. And we saw evidence of that with the Hickman Mills School District.
When we work on subtraction problem, what is the first thing we're going to do, Malachi?
Put up 6 fingers because that's the top number.
3 3 equals what?
3.
Okay, you ready for another one?
Yes.
Super quick.
This past February, something amazing happened. The Hickman Mills School District moved every one of its kindergarten classes to a central campus and made every child in the district eligible for no-cost all-day pre-K classes, housed in this revamped middle school that feels more like a children's museum than a public school. And it's here that these youngsters are getting high-quality instruction, plus complimentary meals, and for pre-K students, door-to-door pickup and drop-off. The motivation for all this? A systemic problem that administrators felt had to be addressed now.
Many of our students, they have a late start. They're behind when they go into kindergarten. So we had an opportunity to help close those gaps by starting early.
We had an extreme sense of urgency to get this program up and running as quick as possible, because all you do is prolong the challenges you have. If you wait till next year, now you have a whole population of students that came to kindergarten unprepared. So by getting it up and running within a 7-month period, we got almost 600 kids between the two sites going to pre-K and getting instructional, not just going to daycare, but they're going to a full day instructional curriculum-based schooling to get them on track for their kindergarten year.
We know what kids need. It's nothing new, but the thing is, are you going to do it? And so Hickman Mills School District decided we're going to do it. We're going to provide our early learners with a high-quality educational programs so they can be competitive.
The district's motto became "Fund your priorities." And as you can imagine, an endeavor like this wasn't cheap. The district acquired $7 million in government bonds, shoring up the remainder by diverting approximately $3 million in capital and repurposing Title I funds.
Our Title I dollars were being used a lot for instructional coaches and things out in buildings and reading. It seemed like our reading specialists were always focusing on trying to catch up, reactive to kids being behind. And we said, if we're spending this dollars on reaction stuff, let's get proactive and get ahead of the game.
One more big scoop.
Thank you, spread 2.
We are completely focused on our little early learners. When you look through the door, you know, you might just think, oh, well, they're just playing. What are they actually learning? They are learning so much. They're learning how to play, how to get along with their peers, how to speak to their peers, how to problem solve with their peers.
But we have a kindergarten readiness checklist. And on that kindergarten readiness checklist, we have several different domains where we want to monitor to see if the students are actually getting the skills that we say they're going to have. So when we're talking about literacy, do they really have the literacy skills? So we have a sheet where we can go through to see, how is my child doing?
Our whole goal with the pre-K program was, one, get them on grade level and keep them on grade level. And to be effective, whether they choose a vocation or whether they choose college as their route, not being committed to one or the other because they're behind.
They're cutting other parts of the budget, eliminating reading specialists, tutoring in the early and secondary grades to make all of this work. Cynthia Lane, okay, so they're doing it. They're not waiting for the state to act, they're doing it. What stops Kansas City, Kansas from doing that?
That's a great question. And I think what we've been trying to do is, last year we became the lead agency of the school district for Head Start, because we wanted to start first with high quality early learning experiences for children who had stable funding streams. Our community's next step is, how do we get to voluntary universal early childhood for everyone? And it's not just about school districts doing it, it's about working with community providers that share the same values of what young children need. And so it's a matter of dialogue. So Hickman Mills should be celebrated. They're right on track. We can't wait for other officials to do this. It has to be a community grassroots effort that says, I will put my tax dollars here because I know it matters for our future.
Well, what makes it harder, though, for a district like, say, Kansas City, Kansas to do that?
Well, frankly, we might be able to take some of those big steps if we weren't scrambling to protect the core of our educational system, period. And right now in Kansas, tax policy and tax reductions is more important than our children and then workforce development.
Okay. Dr. Archer?
When you're stressed with the level of jobs and issues that are going on right now, you can't do what you know you should be doing. So I think a living wage campaign, capping predatory lending. Our city council has gone on record that they want to see increasing life expectancy and reducing the health inequities between zip codes, and the mayor's challenged us as departments to start figuring out how do we come together to make that difference.
More and more cities are taking matters into their own hands. It's not just school districts. New York City, the mayor there made a universal pre-K for fourth-year-olds a campaign issue, working towards an income tax to pay for it. San Antonio voters approving a sales tax for that purpose. Would people support that here?
My heart tells me yes. My head tells me that tax policy is a very, very difficult thing. We have a very high sales tax here. I was out the other day and bought something that was almost $10, and the clerk said $11.20. So we have a very high sales tax here. There are other ways to do that, but I think we need to come together. I know the Kansas City, Missouri School District is looking at ways to be able to finance their providing a Hickman Mills kind of program for all of their children. And there's lots of smart people on that committee, but remember, if you want to have a special tax district, it has to be approved by the Missouri General Assembly, and they don't like the T word.
We continue the conversation here at the Kauffman Foundation in just a moment, but first, did you know you're likely to be deciding funding for early childhood programs at the ballot box next year? In fact, Kansas City area voters could be weighing 3 different proposals, all of which will benefit kids, but will also make a dent in your pocketbook. Our reporter Mike Sherry from the KCPT Hale Center for Journalism has been taking a closer look at what's at stake.
Come next year, Kansas Cityans could have a lot to think about when it comes to kids and to their wallets. If everything goes as planned, voters would consider no less than 3 tax hikes for children and youth in the second half of 2016. One would hike the statewide cigarette tax.
And our initiative is about children. This is about the health and education of children birth to 5.
Another would increase property taxes.
Our goal is to provide year-round, day-long, free, universal early childhood education for all kids living within the Kansas City, Missouri School District.
And the third would impose a sales tax in Jackson and Clay counties.
It could be providing counseling in the schools, prevention education programs to keep kids from becoming traumatized or bullied, or all the wide range of things that will help create a healthier community for children and youth.
The inclusion of Clay County might come as a surprise to some, but Winter said the data bears out the need.
It's increasingly a higher poverty area, and the need is just much greater for meeting the services for children and youth in that area as well.
Proponents of all 3 say taxpayers would see a good return on their investments.
I don't know of anything that's more important than getting kids ready for school. And when we say getting ready for school, we're talking about getting ready for kindergarten. We're trying to keep those kids in school till they graduate and not become a burden on society.
Welcome back, kids. So would you like a hug?
So we ran an economic impact analysis on what 250 million new revenue would do for Missouri, and that will give us a 3,000 net jobs. So we're talking about, if we have an increase in access to quality early childhood and health screenings, we're talking about more health professionals, more teachers, and so it's a great economic development tool for Missouri.
Campaign boosters are convinced they can differentiate their plans for the electorate.
These other measures that are going to the people, we don't feel that we're in competition with them. We're in favor of them, and we'll help anybody and everybody that's trying to support early childhood education.
We don't want to get into a pick us. We're into collaboration and into the fact that we all need to come together to help the most vulnerable in our communities.
However, cooperation does not mean complacency. Each camp promises a vigorous and successful campaign.
Our core mission is to win the election in November 2016 and fund early childhood health and education, and we are doing everything possible to make sure we win.
Ours is not confusing. It's a very simple goal, and we believe that the people in the district will support it.
And at least one group has a wrinkle up its sleeve.
We're hoping that maybe we can have this be the last item on the ballot, so we can say don't put kids last, go to the end of the ballot and put them first.
That could be a smart move. At least one local political veteran doubts all three measures can pass.
You have a question, let's say it's in August or April, and it's the property tax increase, and let's say that passes. And then you come back around and there's a new campaign advocating for a tax increase for early childhood. Whether it's cigarettes or sales, I don't think it makes much difference. People are going to ask themselves, well, didn't I already vote on that? So passing it once is going to be a challenge in and of itself. Passing it twice will become increasingly more difficult. A third time, I find that hard to believe.
The state of Missouri, which has the lowest tobacco tax in the nation, there is an effort afoot to raise that tobacco tax from 17 cents and an extra 50 cents and have that money go towards early childhood education programs. But yet, it's gone to the ballot 3 times in the state of Missouri, raising that tax. Failed every time when it's gone towards voters. Would it make any difference if it's just going to early childhood programs? Is it the same thing? It's the T word, Peter?
The T word again. It's how you frame the whole argument. And we have to do a better
Put your mic a little closer then.
We have to do a better job of framing the argument and what the benefits are going to be. Why we need to raise that tax on tobacco. What does that do for the state as a whole? What problems will it address? I mean, as the superintendent said, it's the business community, and even in the video, the business community is key here. The business community drives the elected officials, especially at the congressional level, okay? And until they start looking at this issue in terms of long-term sustainability and viability of this country, we're gonna continue to have this conversation. We've been having this conversation one way or another for the past 20 years, folks. At least, and I'm tired of the conversation. Let's begin to talk about what's the strategy to engage the players, all the pieces of the puzzle, to create a new puzzle for this country. And that means dealing with some very hard, ugly things that we don't want to deal with. Greed, racism, sexism, all those issues. When you look at these countries that are ahead of us, especially the European countries, for the most part, they have a homogeneous ethnic group. When you look at this country, we have a heterogeneous ethnic group. Is it surprising why we have such a difficult time doing the right thing for each other?
Very good.
As part of that, I would say we need to change the conversation. One of the things that I saw over my years of being involved in this is many, many business people were sitting up in their chairs when they were listening to the fact that in an all-volunteer army, 75% of people of military age cannot qualify for today's army. That got their attention. Oh my gosh, this is a national defense issue. The other thing that caught their attention, and someone said it earlier, our employers can't find employees. They're struggling and they need help. Now they're turning to looking at this information. And lastly, I would say I'm really glad the Chamber's in this. The Chamber of Commerce are the right people and know the right people. They know policymakers, they know other men and women in business. If they view this and they take it to heart, things will begin to change.
Yes, okay. Questions for our panel, ladies and gentlemen?
I'd like to hear more of if we can be creative of how can we focus on strengthening the basic family structure. Because I believe it really begins at home. And if we can create a way or find a way of undergirding, of supporting, of focusing somehow on the parents who are raising the children that we will have made a giant leap even before they get into school.
Very good. Thank you very much. Well, in a sense, that's true. I mean, we focused on school. Oh, they should be doing something. The state should be doing something. What is the role of the parent in all of this?
Well, the parent has a critical role, or both parents, hopefully, but they need to be taught often also, because we've had almost a full generation now of these stresses and folks working 2 or 3 jobs and not having the time to parent. There are programs, what we call nurse-family partnership, extremely successful. We run that as a health department. It makes a huge difference even 15 years later after the kids have reached age 2 and the program's over. They're less likely to end up in the juvenile justice system, those kinds of activities. So it's a nurse then working with the parents to teach them these activities. Most of us in this room know a lot of that, but you'd be amazed how many parents I see walking around with their kids and they're not talking with them, they're not interacting with them. They haven't really been taught those skills. The talk, read, play initiatives that the mayor's been pushing, it is not common among many of our parents.
Dr. Dow, do you have a perspective on that?
I sure do, and I have to disagree with a little bit about this idea of teaching. Teaching is important, but if you look at our population, the highest risk kids, and I can think of one place where we work a lot there in 31st and Troost, and you actually measure mental health measures, which we're beginning to do now with a partnership with Children's Mercy Behavior and Development, and you see that 50% of the parents there, they're mostly moms, are screening positive for PTSD. 50%, 1 out of 2. 19%, almost 1 in 5, which was the statistic here in the film, are moderately or severely depressed, screening positive. Exact same thing that they said in the film. So it's not, you can't teach people who are dysregulated, who have toxic stress. You have to treat them and support them before they can even get to the point of learning.
More questions from our audience at the Kauffman Foundation in just a moment as we continue with Raising Kansas City here on KCPT. But first, with so many problems facing our youngest and most vulnerable Kansas Cityans, where are those glimmers of hope? There are countless programs and people all across the metro rolling up their sleeves, working to make a difference. KCPT reporter Lindsay Fote takes us next to Lead to Read, a free program for Kansas City area urban schools where kids and volunteers bond over books.
What book do we have today?
We have Tom and
Hippo.
This is Shamarian, a first grader at Wendell Phillips Elementary, and her reading buddy Lynn Carlton. Every Tuesday, they spend 30 minutes reading together.
Good.
She has come a long way. In the beginning of the year, she was a little slower, didn't quite understand some of the punctuation or question marks, but now she has really gotten a lot better.
I think we need a harder book. Ooh, Charlotte's Web.
Mr.
Arable.
Lynn is a volunteer with Lead to Read, a program that started a few years ago with a simple premise: make it easy for working adults to mentor students at nearby low-income schools over their lunch hour.
We felt like we could get lots of volunteers who would be willing to come and give a half hour a week for the school year to invest in one kid so that they have a relationship with a trusted, caring adult around reading.
Lynn Rendell and his wife Jean started Lead to Read as a result of their experiences mentoring and tutoring teenagers at their church.
As we built those relationships, we started understanding that the most significant factor that was holding some of these kids back was the fact that they couldn't read. So Lead to Read started with 1 classroom, 1 teacher, and now we have over 12 classrooms, over 300 readers.
With many of our children, they may not have a lot of consistency in their lives. And so the relationships that our children are building and that sense of consistency, that you have the same person each week here to work with me, read with me. And our boys and girls don't see that as a task. They see it as fun.
That's really where the battle starts, is getting kids to get a book in their hands and then learn to love the experience of reading.
Lynn says that while many factors impact students' reading scores, Lead to Read volunteers are making a difference.
In one classroom, students came in scoring a 151 on the state score, which is pre-kindergarten, and they finished at first grade level at 162. And when you see that kind of marked improvement, you know that that trusting adult gives them the confidence to become a better reader. Ultimately, we'd like to see every kid in the urban core to have a reader every year, 1st through 4th grade, which is about 5,000 readers. And to go from 300 to 5,000, we just need that massive engagement. We need people to say, count me in.
Recognizing that every child matters and each new volunteer can make an impact, Lynn and Jean made a 10-year plan to reach their goal of 5,000 volunteers. But in March of 2014, Jean died after a long battle with heart disease. And while the program lost its co-founder and most dedicated volunteer, her vision lives on.
That wasn't important to her to leave a mark. She just lived and left a mark. And that's why we did it. We were reading one-on-one with kids in the library, but there wasn't enough Jean to go around, so we needed to add more Jeans. That's what we did. That's Lead to Read.
Lead to Read hopes to add more Jeans every school year. Volunteers who share her commitment to children in Kansas City. Volunteers like Lynn Carlton.
That's right, the runt, right?
I think most people don't understand how little amount of time it can take out of your workday and what a major impact it has on the lives of the children. To know that there's some adults out there who care about them, who want to come and see them every week, and who really want to take an interest in making sure that they are good readers.
I'll see you next week. All right, keep reading, okay? I will be here next week. Keep up the good work, all right?
As we were talking about resources, money, and the thing in the back of my mind really was, where's a representative here, say, from casinos? Are they losing money? Why haven't things improved with all they can say what they're doing for the children and education? Are they losing money? And there's no one here representing that, that group. Just throwing it out there, it kind of makes me think about money and how much I've seen people there and how much I don't see any results from all the hype.
There's a trick that legislators play on us. It's called supplant. You give me $100. Well, he was giving me $100 too. You give me the $100, and I give him his back. So in terms of money to spend, it's neutral. She gave me $100 in casino taxes, and I gave him back the money that he was giving. It happens all the time in politics. So when you see go to the boats and they'll give their money to education, your mind says that's a sum gain. It's not, because the legislature then takes what was paying for that and puts it somewhere else. So you have to be careful of those kind of things, and I think that's particularly what happened with the boat money.
But Shannon, can I ask, you've got, in the state of Kansas, they've got into the casino business as a state. And does any of that money go into early childhood education?
No.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. Honest, quick answer. Question from Deirdre.
I'm surprised that we didn't really talk about the change in the family. I'm surprised that the number of fathers that are raising children and grandparents that are raising children wasn't addressed in the film, and I'm just curious what the panel has to say about that, because I think part of our challenge in this nation is, as the world has changed and evolved, our system is still set up on this nuclear family, one parent at home that's going to be available to do all this carting and carrying on, and it seems like we need to be a little more progressive about how we look at the family.
That's an excellent point, and as we were talking, I was thinking about we need to redefine parent, because oftentimes parent is not necessarily the biological parent, and surround whoever is the caregiver with support. Parents as teachers are things like that, infant, toddler, early Head Start. There are lots and lots of supports, but our families don't know what they are or how to access them. So we need to surround with messages of support and recognize that it's okay if you're not a traditional family. I think that's part of that values issue that I talked about. We don't want to recognize that our children are being raised by a variety of caregivers. The most important thing is that they have a caregiver in their lives.
More questions from our audience at the Kauffman Foundation in just a moment as we continue with Raising Kansas City here on KCPT. But first, did you know Head Start turns 50 years old this year? Considered the model program for helping the nation's youngest and poorest children thrive, reporter Mike Sherry from the KCPT Hale Center for Journalism takes a closer look at Head Start's 50 years of impact in the Kansas City area.
Head Start is celebrating its golden anniversary this year. Locally, the Mid-America Regional Council is marking the milestone with a 50 Faces of Head Start exhibit. One honoree is David McGeehee.
You know, I don't ever remember having a whole lot as a kid. I had an alcoholic father, a mom that was a waitress in my early days, kind of worked her way toward managing bakeries and grocery stores in Boonville, Missouri. I really think the Head Start program was in a house. That's what I remember. I don't remember it in a building other than kind of a house. And I went to kindergarten with confidence and able to do the things that they were asking me to do. And I loved my kindergarten teacher. I do remember her.
McGeehee is hazy on the details, but he believes Head Start prepared him for school.
When I graduated high school, I thought, okay, maybe I'll be a teacher because that's the environment I was most comfortable in my whole life. And I'm sure all the way back to Head Start all the way through, that's the most structure I had in my life.
Esther Francis is another 50 Faces honoree. Head Start also influenced her career and helped her kids.
My family's introduction to Head Start was at a perfect time in life. I was unemployed at the time and had decided that that was probably as far as I was going to go. Head Start focuses on kindergarten readiness. They really help them focus on social cognitive skills and being able to just play in those different settings helps to prepare them for being in the classroom.
Francis settled on a human resources career through Head Start.
That experience then on the policy council level at Mid-America Head Start was my first interaction with serving on a human resources interview team. And that was really what ignited my career path.
But the program has its critics. They say Head Start benefits fade by the third grade.
I could point you to a number of studies that show that the impacts of Head Start don't wear off. It really is a multifaceted program that is interested in academic outcomes, social emotional outcomes, health outcomes, family outcomes. So it's important, I think, that when we talk about the long-term impacts, that we think about all those different areas.
Health is a key focus of the program.
I think Head Start has always really appreciated how interconnected the areas of development are, and health is a major component.
I truly believe that those health screenings that are provided to the children are very beneficial and almost crucial because there are times that many of the children are not going to have that opportunity otherwise. For instance, the dental program that shows up at the school and the kids are there well taken care of and they're so excited and they come home at the end of the day and they're like, Mommy, I got my teeth cleaned, you know?
Thousands of people out there like me that could go back and whether they remember it or not, have some component of their life affected by Head Start.
Whenever it was threatened, there has always been a grassroots effort, typically led by families who have benefited from Head Start and know the difference that it's made for their children, who've raised up their arms and said, we can't let that happen. We can't let Head Start die.
It's hard to put in a nutshell what Head Start has done for my family. I'm extremely grateful, though.
Hi, I had a question that was kind of prompted by something we saw in the film about how in California cemeteries are more closely inspected than early child care facilities. And I was just curious, and whoever can answer this on the panel, what are the conditions of inspection for early child care facilities like in Missouri and Kansas?
Excellent. Thank you very much for that question. Do we inspect cemeteries more than child care centers in our own neck of the woods, Dr. Archer?
Well, I can tell you that we inspect child care centers much more often than we inspect cemeteries. So, and not only that, but we're actually having some discussions around and have been working with Children's Mercy around the concept that these child care centers need help and encouragement to move along that line towards a stronger kind of accreditation, and that we might have a certain level of credentialing where if they have certain levels of training and experience beyond what is enough to stay open, that they would get that certificate, and that could be actually something they could use to market the quality of their child care versus another one.
You know, incentives for doing a better job have struggled in Missouri. Missouri is the only state in the nation that does not have a quality rating system for early childhood programs, where an independent unit can come in and assess it and give them a score from 1 to 5, with 5 being the best, and a plan to get better. We can't do that in Missouri.
We got a question at the back here from Louis Duguid.
Looking at the film and then listening to the panelists, it makes me wonder, did this country ever get it right across the board? Or is this simply a continuation of an existing problem that we've had in not supporting families? When I think about it, the GI Bill was what may have come closest to this country investing in people.
The GI Bill's an interesting thing. It passed by 1 vote, by the way. And the thing that Congress thought would be most used was, it was the 5250 plan, that every vet would get $50, 52 weeks, and then they would be able to use that money to do whatever. Actually, that was almost never used. What was used was the GI Bill to go to school, to learn and to educate yourself. And very, very, very many notable Americans who took part in the GI Bill really benefited not just the country, themselves, their communities. And the third leg of that three-legged stool, Louis, was middle-class housing, the VA bill for housing. It brought suburbs, it brought people, it brought prosperity, it brought housing. It was remarkable. Let's do that again, Louis.
If I could.
Yeah, I think almost all of us want to jump in on this one.
Well,
Go ahead.
you know, and I don't want to be the one who's controversial. But as I recall, Louis, the GI Bill, this country wasn't as diverse back then as it is now. And the GI Bill was only really meant for a certain ethnic group. Okay? Let's be real now. We continue to step around what the real issues are. Okay? You know, the more diverse this country's become, the more uglier it has gotten for all of us in this room. Okay, and then, but we keep having the same cyclical conversation. You know, what the hospitals and the different child care organizations do are great. But there's a step that from birth to 3 months starts with solidifying that family structure and allowing that husband and wife to put energy into those kids and still be able to maintain a living before it gets to what the institutions do.
But the most amazing part of that documentary for me that surprised me the most, and it's on this point, is why is it that on every military base, they have these top-class childcare facilities, and they have that system, and we pay for it as taxpayers.
Precisely. Why is that?
Here at Camp Pendleton, Marine families can send their children to high-quality, on-base child development centers. And not just at Camp Pendleton. The same is available to every branch of the military, to all military personnel, regardless of rank.
Show the daddy.
Here, fees are based on a sliding scale.
We looked at everything from a nanny to daycare out in town. We wouldn't have been able to afford it. Our non-military friends, they're amazed that we only pay what we pay.
We have the money to do what we want to do. Remember, we're the richest country in the world now.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yes, okay. Dr. Dowd.
You know, I don't know about past history. I'm sure we've gotten a lot of things right, but you know, right here in our own city, there are examples of how we've gotten things right. You know, Mr. Duguid, your employer is the Kansas City Star. I think it was 2 weeks ago, the front page in Sunday featured a write-up on a remarkable program to employ women in poverty by a business who sells high-end fabrics to Nell Hills, moving their business down to near 31st and Trus, employing women, but not simply employing them, paying them a livable wage and giving them necessary mentorship. Because a lot of people that are in high-risk situations are so traumatized, they're not immediately employable without a lot of wraparound and willingness of the employer to mentor. That's success.
That story you mentioned, though, they did not get any tax incentives to go there. They didn't get boatloads of state money to do it. They didn't complain the federal government wasn't giving them any money. That was something that they felt they needed to do to make a difference in their lives. What small or large steps can we take as we finish up here? Can you give us one small or large step, each of you, that we could actually move the needle in here that doesn't require the state of Kansas or the state of Missouri saving early childhood education when there are fiscal woes in place? That's probably not going to happen. Starting with you, Dr. Lane, is there one small step, one large step we could take that would actually make a difference?
Putting our children in the front of our values instead of somewhere down the list. That's what we need to do. Invest in our kids and in education and make whatever steps we have to take to make that reality, not just for some people's children, but for all of our kids.
But I would say, you know, Jim Cacomo, we used to have in the 90s bumper stickers everywhere. Is it good for the children? Remember that? You were part of it. We don't even see those anymore.
Yeah.
We don't. So it's not good for the children anymore.
There's one, by the way, on my car. It's out in the parking lot. I'll take you out. You can see it. I think Dr. Lane is right. I think part of it is our value system. Somebody said, I think it was Dr. Archer, that the people who need to see this film don't see it. You know, I would say one small thing you can do is get a copy of this DVD and host some people in your house, host some people in your faith community, host some people in your neighborhood, and show them that. Part of it is, if Dr. Archer's right, and I think he may be, people need to know this. Also, if you can host some politicians at the time they're running. Once they get in, don't worry about hosting them because they got other things to do. But while the primaries are going on, invite them over for a coffee.
Shannon.
I think when we have tough fiscal times, you take from the kids' piggy bank last, not first. And that's what we're doing right now in Kansas. When we need money, we're dipping into the children's endowment as opposed to taking from other places first.
But you're with Kansas Action for Children, is there one practical step you could take when there's no money coming down the pike?
I think that's quite practical. Those aren't taxpayer dollars. Okay. Those are tobacco settlement dollars.
All right, very good. Okay, Dr. Archer?
Jim actually took mine. I was going to say the exact same thing. If everybody in this room decides to get serious about this issue and use this documentary to continue these conversations and spread it, because until we change the narrative and the wind out there of the general folks, unless we change the public sentiment, we can't fix this. Now, in the past, fear has worked. Like we were afraid that the Russians were going to get to the moon or whatever before us, and so we launched the big science and math initiative and put some dollars behind it. So I'm not sure. We may be able to manipulate ourselves with fear some way nationally on this thing, but short of that, I think we've got to educate folks. And I do think there are practical things like the living wage campaign that we can win. They've been won in a lot of other states and red states. And if we raise the living wage, we can start to help take some pressure off parents.
Peter Yolanda.
Well, You know, I think there's something we can do, and I'm going to not put you on the spot, Mr. Mayor, but, you know, I would love to see the mayor have the board directors of the Chamber of Commerce, if not the entire membership, sit down and watch the video. Okay, the Chamber of Commerce, the business leaders of this community, on both sides of state line, sit down and watch this. Those are the people that the governor of Kansas listens to, the governor of Missouri listens to, and maybe we can get a Missouri-Kansas project that begins strategically to address these issues that are identified in this video.
Yes, of course you can, Mr. Mayor.
That's one of the nice things about being mayor is I usually get my way. Peter, I was a step ahead of you. I've already started working on that. But I will correct one thing. The governors of the state of Kansas and the governor of the state of Missouri do not listen to the business community. If they were, we wouldn't have the border war. We wouldn't be having a whole lot of stuff going on. They listen to, well, I better shut up and stop there.
And let's get the final word from the emergency room at Children's Mercy Hospital.
Well, it's hard to add to what the distinguished experts have said already, but I'll tell you one thing. You opened this session by saying we were a think tank of experts. And I would take an issue with that, is that the true experts are those individuals that have made it through these adversities and are highly successful. And those are the voices we need to hear. And I'll just add that, and it takes cultural humility to do that, and leveling that playing field where in the court of opinions, you know, engaging the community in real dialogue and listening, shutting up and listening.
Thank you then to our panel, not our think tank of experts, for engaging with us during the last 45 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. And kudos to the mayor, who didn't just make an introductory statement and move on to another appointment. Stay to watch an hour-long documentary. Stay to actually listen to the conversation. So thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, for that.